All right, so get ready. We're going deep into Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. I know you're a big fan. And this book, it's really something. You gave us the book. So think of this deep dive as your own personal guide. Yeah, like your cheat sheet to like all the hidden stuff and all the cool insights just for you.
Yeah, that's right. We're going way beyond the plot here. We're going to be talking about, the psychology of the characters, their motivations, what they're hiding, what makes these characters tick, and what does all of this tell us about like our own needs to connect and really express ourselves.
Exactly. We're going to be talking about hidden identities, the power of just words, and a connection that was made through ink and paper. I mean, think about it. Have you ever just like poured your heart out into a letter? It's like a whole different kind of intimacy.
Absolutely. And that's exactly where we begin with Misha and Ryan. They've been pen pals for 7 years, but they're total strangers in the real world. Their whole relationship, it only exists in letters, which is like a really fascinating idea in our digital age. They just totally bare their souls to each other and they build this super intense bond, even though they're miles apart.
And Ryan, she doesn't just write letters. She like makes it an experience. Black paper, silver ink. She's creating a persona before Misha even reads a word. Makes you think, is this like an early peek at her punk side, even before we actually get to her alter ego?
That's a really, really good observation. It definitely suggests that she's making an effort, a real effort to be seen in a very specific way. And this whole theme of like carefully crafting an image, a presentation versus being truly authentic, well, that's going to come up a lot in this deep dive.
And then there's the music. Ryan makes Misha this playlist, and all of a sudden, songs become their own secret language. They weave it right into their relationship. What do you think? What does this say about their connection? Does it make it stronger having these shared experiences? Or is it like a little bit of fear? Are they relying on these like curated emotions instead of just being totally vulnerable?
Wow, that's a really insightful question. It definitely speaks to the idea that they find safety and control in sharing things in this very curated way. Music lets them kind of control how the emotions go. They only reveal what they're comfortable with. Makes you wonder, what if they had to like actually face each other, without picking certain songs or having time to like write the perfect response in a letter?
Okay, well, speaking of face to face, things get even more interesting because Misha has a secret of his own. He's not just some random guy writing letters. He actually lives in the same town as Ryan, goes to the same school, but he's keeping his pen pal life completely separate. And he's not just hiding the letters, he's got this whole other life. He's in a band, they're called Cypher Core, and they play at this abandoned warehouse. It's like he's totally compartmentalizing his life, like he's afraid to let these two worlds meet.
Yeah, and it's risky. It's a really risky game he's playing. If he makes just one mistake, if someone recognizes a song at a gig, his whole facade could just crumble. It makes you think, is he actually afraid of being, found out? Or is he more afraid of like ruining the image that Ryan has of him in her head? Maybe he likes having this control, knowing something she doesn't.
Oh yeah, totally. There's this scene where he's at a band event and he sees this girl who could be Ryan, and he almost looks her up on Facebook. He stops himself, but oh, it's a tense moment. You can just feel his struggle. Does he reveal himself? Or does he like keep hiding, worried about what will happen?
And that brings us to, I think, a really important question. What is it about this connection with Ryan that makes Misha, someone who needs control so much, what makes him hesitate to just break the illusion? Is he really trying to protect Ryan? Or is there something else going on? Like, is it selfish? Does he need to keep their relationship perfect in his mind?
Ooh, good point. We kind of tend to romanticize this whole pen pal thing. But what if there's something darker underneath it all? What if Misha's using the fact that they don't know each other, using that anonymity to manipulate things, to make sure the story goes the way he wants? Adds another layer, doesn't it?
For sure. And speaking of characters with layers, let's talk about Ryan. On the surface, she's got it all. Popular cheerleader, involved in everything, seems super confident. But underneath that perfect exterior, well, she's dealing with her own struggles.
Right. She's got this whole punk persona going on. She's leaving these like anonymous messages all over the school, expressing her frustrations and her anger and just her real self. It's almost like graffiti is her version of black paper and silver ink, don't you think?
Exactly. She's taking back her voice, expressing the parts of herself that don't fit into that perfect cheerleader box. Think about it. In young adult books, graffiti is a symbol. It's like a rebellion, a challenge. It's about taking control when you feel like you don't have any. Does that resonate with you, thinking about Ryan?
Oh, totally. She's just desperate to break free from all the expectations, all the pressure to fit in. But it makes you wonder, is her punk persona really authentic? Or is it, like, just another mask, another way to control how people see her?
That's an amazing question. And it's something we'll definitely need to think about as we go deeper into their relationship. You have Misha hiding behind his music, Ryan behind her popularity and her punk stuff. What happens when they can't hide anymore?
It's really interesting how both Misha and Ryan, they're both drawn to these like abandoned places, like the warehouse where Cypher Core plays, and that amusement park, the Cove. They're trying to escape, like get away from all the pressure and expectations of everyday life.
Yeah, absolutely. Those places, they become like symbols of their secret selves, right? The sides of themselves they can't really show in the real world. The warehouse is like Misha's creative outlet, his escape from, all that family baggage. And the Cove, well, that's their playground. It's where they can let loose and just be themselves, without any masks.
And it's at the Cove where they finally like run into each other, but it's not exactly a romantic meet cute.
Yeah.
Misha finds Ryan's notebook, the one with all her like punk thoughts, and he threatens to expose her. It's such a power move, right? He's trying to control her even before he knows who she really is.
Exactly. It shows how much Misha needs to be in control. He sees Ryan's secret identity as a threat, like it's messing up this perfect world he's built in his head. But there's also this like tiny bit of recognition there, like he gets why she needs to express this hidden side of herself.
And don't forget, he also defends her from Trey when Trey's bullying her. That scene is so important because it shows this like protective side of Misha, a softer side we haven't seen before.
Right. It makes their whole dynamic way more complex. He's scared of her, but he's also drawn to her. It's like this push and pull that reflects their own, internal battles. They want to connect, but they're terrified of being vulnerable.
And just when you think things can't get any more complicated, Ryan sees a video of Cypher Core online, and boom, she recognizes Misha's voice. Her whole world just implodes. Imagine that. The guy you've been sharing your deepest secrets with, the one person you thought really understood you, turns out to be someone you've been, like, fighting with in real life. It's a total betrayal.
Yeah, the illusion they've built, it just shatters. The anonymity that let their relationship, bloom is gone. Now it's just the harsh reality of their real world dynamic. It forces them to face this question: can their connection survive outside of their letters?
And then Ryan sees a picture of Misha's ex-girlfriend wearing his sister's watch, and everything just explodes. It's not just about jealousy, right? That watch, it means something deeper to Ryan. It represents all her insecurities, her fear of being replaced, of not being good enough.
Absolutely. It triggers all those deep wounds that she's been trying to hide with her popularity and her punk persona. The watch, it becomes a symbol of her fear of abandonment, a fear that probably comes from, stuff that happened in her childhood. Think about it. Haven't you ever felt that twinge of not being enough, that fear of being replaced in someone's heart? Ryan's reaction, I mean, it's extreme, but we can all relate to it in some way.
For sure. And this moment of vulnerability, this raw emotion, it makes Misha finally confront his own past.
Oh.
We see him in his sister's room, wrestling with all the grief and anger he's been burying for years. It's a really powerful scene, and it helps us understand his character so much better.
What's really interesting is that Misha's anger isn't just about his sister's death. He's furious at his mom for leaving, for choosing a new family over him and Annie. The missing watch, it's like a symbol of her abandonment, a reminder of how much she hurt them.
It explains why he's so obsessed with finding that watch at Trey's house. It wasn't just revenge, it was about like getting back a piece of his sister, a piece of his past that his mom took from it. Almost like he's trying to change history, trying to undo the pain of her leaving.
And that connects to a really big theme in Punk 57, facing our past and letting go of the hurt that's holding us back. Misha and Ryan have both been carrying this weight for years. It's affected their choices, their relationships, their sense of self, but it's only by, acknowledging and dealing with these wounds that they can truly move on.
Exactly. They've been running from their pain, Misha, through control and secrecy, Ryan through, like, popularity and pretending to be someone she's not. But their journey shows us that real freedom, it comes from facing our demons, not pretending they don't exist. Have you ever tried to just, like, bury a painful memory, only to have it pop up again when you least expect it? Punk 57 reminds us that those wounds, they don't just go away. They shape who we are, and we get to decide if they're going to control us or empower us.
And it's not just about romantic relationships either. The book also looks at friendship, especially through Ryan's relationship with Ten. He offers her a different kind of connection, one that's based on acceptance and loyalty, No pressure to be popular or fit in. He's a reminder that real friendship can exist, even in a world that's obsessed with image and being perfect.
I'm glad you brought up 10. He's such a good influence on Ryan. He sees right through her facade, accepts her punk side without judging her. Makes you wonder, would she have been able to, like, embrace her true self without him, without his support?
It's definitely possible. 10 gives Ryan a safe space to be vulnerable, to take off the masks she's been wearing. He helps her see that real connection. It doesn't need perfection, it needs you to be real. And that's a powerful message for all of us, right? We all need those people in our lives who love us no matter what, who see the messy parts of us and still love us anyway.
Absolutely. And speaking of embracing the messy parts, let's talk about the ending. Misha has this incredible opportunity to leave Falconswell and go on tour with his band. It's his chance to follow his dreams, escape the ghosts of his past. But he chooses to stay with Ryan. What do you think? Why does he make that decision?
That's a huge choice, and I think it shows how transformative their relationship has been for him. He realizes that Ryan is more than just a pen pal, more than just this fantasy. She's a complex person with flaws who challenges him to be a better man. And for Misha, that connection, the chance to grow and heal with Ryan, it's worth more than fame and escape.
But is it really a sacrifice? Or is he scared of the real world? A world where he can't control everything. Remember, he thrives on secrecy, on manipulating things to get what he wants. Maybe staying in Falcon's Well, where everything's familiar, feels safer than going out into the unknown.
That's a really sharp observation. It could be that Misha's choice is driven by, both love for Ryan and fear of what comes with success and being in the spotlight. It reminds us that even the most romantic gestures, they can be driven by a lot of different emotions, some we might not even be aware of. It makes you wonder, do we really understand why we do the things we do? Or are we all just caught in this web of desires, fears, and stuff we don't even realize is influencing us?
Well, that's deep. And Ryan makes a choice too, right? She decides to let go of her fear and give Misha a chance. Remember, she's been hurt before. She's built up walls around her heart. But she takes a leap of faith, trusting that this connection, even though it's messy and complicated, is worth fighting for.
Absolutely. She finally lets herself be vulnerable to really trust someone, even though it's risky. It shows how much she's grown throughout the story. She's not that insecure girl hiding behind masks anymore. She's ready to be seen, truly seen, for who she really is. And that's such a powerful message for all of us, isn't it? It reminds us that being vulnerable, even though it's scary, it's the key to experiencing real connection and intimacy.
Yeah, I love that. And their last scene together, it's so symbolic. They're literally painting the school walls with their truth, their love, their rebellion. It's such a powerful image of breaking free from the rules and expectations that have been holding them back.
It's like a declaration of who they are, a rejection of having to fit in. And think about it, they're using art to express themselves, to connect with others, and to challenge the status quo. It reminds us that art can be this powerful force for change, for personal freedom, for finding your voice when the world tries to silence you.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. But wait, there's this one last thing that I find so fascinating. The last chapter gives us a glimpse into the future. We see Ryan and Misha years later. They're married, and they're about to have their first baby. It's this sweet, perfect picture, right?
Yes, it's a quick but tantalizing look at their happily ever after. It shows that they've worked through their pasts and built a life full of love, creativity, and purpose.
But there's a twist, isn't there?
Yeah.
Misha, he's achieved some level of fame with his music, but he's still super private, almost reclusive. What do you make of that?
What's so interesting is that this glimpse into the future, it gives us more questions than answers.
Yeah.
How did Misha deal with fame while staying private? Did you ever make peace with his mom? And what kind of parents will they be given their own, unconventional upbringings?
Welcome back to our deep dive into Punk 57. We've been talking about some heavy stuff. Hidden identities, how complicated connections can be, and those kind of iffy moments where Misha was more controlling than romantic. But even with all the drama and secrets, there's this thread of personal growth throughout the story. What really struck you? How do the characters change?
It's amazing how Misha and Ryan, they really push each other, and in the end, they help each other become better people. It's not like one of them is fixing the other. It's more like their flaws and their good parts, they clash, and it forces them to face their own issues and make different choices.
Oh, that's so true. It's not some fairy tale transformation,
Yeah.
It's messy. Think about Misha's need to be in control. We see him start to change when he walks in on Ryan and Trey in the library. He's obviously jealous, but he doesn't freak out or try to get them in trouble. He just hides. He chooses to protect Ryan's secret.
That scene is so key. He's putting her needs before his own ego. He's showing restraint, which is something we haven't seen from him before. It's like he's starting to get it, the difference between being possessive and actually respecting someone's freedom to make their own choices.
And Ryan, she's not just sitting back and letting him change. She calls him out on his, manipulative stuff.
Yeah.
She refuses to play his games. Remember when he tries to blackmail her into going to that Halloween party? She's like, nope. She stands up for herself.
Exactly. She's not that insecure girl anymore, trying to be popular, to feel good about herself. She's learning to value her own voice, her worth, and that change, it lets her demand more from Misha to hold him accountable.
It's like proof that a healthy relationship needs both people to grow. It's not about pretending you don't have flaws. It's about admitting them, talking honestly, and really trying to be better for each other. Makes you think, have you ever had a relationship that pushed you to grow? Maybe in ways you didn't even expect.
I think it happens in any relationship that really means something. We're always changing and adapting because of the people we're close to, right? Punk 57 shows us that those changes can be tough, but they're what help us break out of bad habits and create something better, something more fulfilling.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, what's the one big thing you hope our listener will think about? What are the big questions they'll walk away with?
Well, there are so many, but I think the most important one is this. Real connection. It needs you to be vulnerable. You have to be real. It's not about being perfect all the time or showing everyone this curated version of yourself. It's about being okay with your flaws, with the complicated parts of yourself, and sharing those with someone, even when it feels scary.
I love that. It's a reminder that we all have a punk side, those hidden desires and fears and dreams that make us who we are. It's about finding the courage to show those parts of ourselves, to connect on a deeper level, and to build a life that's truly ours, not just what we think other people want.
And sometimes it's the most unexpected connections that lead us to those realizations. Misha and Ryan's story, it might be unconventional, but it shows us that real love and figuring out who you are, well, it often happens in those messy, unexpected places where we least expect it.
That's so true. And to our listener, don't let this conversation end here. Think about what really hit home for you. What did you connect with in Misha and Ryan's story? What parts felt familiar? And the most important question of all, what would it take for you to embrace your own punk side? To show the world those hidden parts of yourself that are just waiting to be seen and heard. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Punk 57. We hope it's given you some new insights and maybe even inspired you to shake things up a little in your own life. So next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.